All right, so here we are with another episode of Hellfire Podcast, and we're joined today by Daniel Diaz, who is a writer, is a director, a filmmaker, and just an all-round legend. So Dan, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, I'm good.
How was your Christmas and New Year?
Yeah, a lot of food.
We can see.
Yeah.
Oh, bro.
I know. I've gone in hard, right? I've gone in hard really early.
All I
know,
can
it
see
was a
is
lot of
the breath.
Yeah, it's freaking cold in here
It's
today.
so
Yeah.
cold. It's
Really
insane.
cold. It's like -3 outside, so but we're going to power through.
But it's a great studio.
It
Rent
is.
it.
Yeah.
Rent it.
I'm good. I'm just I've just been just got back from a shoot with Ben.
Yeah.
That was quite a long day, long drive. Oh, M25. But yeah, no, it was really, really productive. Like, we had a great day. So we had multiple setups, but yeah, we just rolled with the punches, and it was good to start working with Ben more on a more corporate level, because obviously he was the DP for Ashland, and we sort of just hit it off straight away almost.
Well, let's get into that a little bit, and let's start at the beginning, Dan. Let's rather than jumping in from midway through. Let's start at the beginning. So, you and I met back in 2018. I think was when we first met.
2018.
2018. So 5 years now we've known each other. It was the end. It was December 2018 we first met. I auditioned for a film that you were putting together, and talk about your journey. So, the film that we met on was The Grey Room. Yeah. Which I believe is to come out within the next 2 weeks. Is that correct?
Yep. So I'm just so grateful to say that we are now on the last couple of minutes of just being able to release it now.
Good. Okay.
It's been such a long journey.
We'll get into that as well, because it has been a long journey. I know you've worked really hard. It has been a long journey. But Dan, talk us about your filmmaking career. When did you start getting into filmmaking? I know there's quite an interesting connection with your uncle, who had you on Hollywood sets when you were younger, right? Talk to us about that.
Yeah. Well, I started out. Before I talk about my uncle, I started out pretty much straight away after high school. I jumped straight into Nollywood.
Nollywood, right?
Yeah.
We've heard of Bollywood. Talk to us about Nollywood.
So Nigerian Hollywood. It was basically I learned everything I needed to learn within a span of a year, just working with various media companies in East London, all Nigerian-based film, but it was such a fascinating, different world of you can really take advantage and learn every single role you need to learn just by working with those. But they're all about abundance, but quality as well. But they just embrace every role that they want to take on. And every time I was involved with a project, everyone was just so inclusive. They would just say, okay, you can be the sound operator today. Okay, tomorrow you can learn this, and the flexibility on their sets are it just allowed me to just open my eyes and discover that there are intricate things involved with every single role on the set, and I think it really just sort of, I eventually lent into sort of directing, because that was just, that's where the momentum took me. I pretty much, went from every single role I could possibly fill right up until that.
So talk to us about that. You landed on directing after doing lots of things, but you're also a writer as well.
Yeah, so I wrote The Grey Room. I'm a big fan. I've always been a massive fan of conspiracy-natured films, and I love opening the Pandora's box on things that are that exposes certain vulnerabilities of the human nature, and just if I could articulate that and tell a story based in one room, and if I could challenge myself and think, okay, if I can build these characters and sort of have a construct where it's kind of like a 12 Angry Men type of environment.
Great film, by the way, 12 Angry Men. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Great
And,
film.
great, such a great film. I mean, it's the power to deliver a story using one location is you take that with you. Where in any situation you want to take it in, it's you have that platform to say, I can tell this story, but I can also, if I do have the opportunity, I have the tools to be able to. So the Grey Room, essentially, it was my sort of like graduation film school, because it opened my eyes logistically on everything and infrastructurally on just how to sort of improve my kind of like perception of higher budget films, just to have that kind of understanding that although you are the biggest cog in the machine, you're still just a cog. You serve the projects just as much as everyone else, and you are a family. It's not, at the end of the day, everyone is in it to get the best out of this film, and that's exactly what happened on Grey Room. And I just, it's been such a journey up until now, because I think the biggest lesson I learned from Grey Room is to really diversify the budget to where it needs to be diversified. I took the sort of reckless decision to sort of put all the budget into a location that cost me an arm and a leg.
Well, let's talk about that, because I think that it's an important thing to mention, actually, for any filmmaker who is starting out, certainly. Obviously, as someone who's part of the Grey Room, I have a bias towards it. Like, from a picture perspective, it looks incredible. It looks great. And I will defend you to a degree, in so much that, we filmed the first half of the Grey Room before COVID. Then COVID hit, which didn't help production, because everything got stopped. So that was a bit of a disaster there. And then we had to pick it up sort of, a year, 18 months later. Again, we were in that weird phase between lockdowns where, you were okay to do stuff, but not too much. But I think that didn't help you to a degree. But I think that one of the biggest issues, or one of the biggest mistakes you made, was that you had a plan for shooting the film, but you didn't have a plan for post-production stuff afterwards. Is that fair to say?
No. You're like, so I think it got to a point where in myself, like the reckless nature of my decision there was in the fact that I wanted to get the best kind of environment. The priority for me was just get the environment, get the kind of production to be on a level that when they do eventually get towards the end, there's a juxtaposition that is so big that it will then flip the dynamic and everything's. So my delivery system and my decision on the budget then was based on more narrative reasons. And at the end of the day, it's kind of wearing three different hats. I leant towards the director-writer area more than the producer, and that backfired.
And that's where you needed a stronger producer, right? Because I came on board as a producer, but at the time it was like it was the first project I'd ever worked on as a producer. To be fair, I think I learned a lot from it myself as well. Yeah. So we ended up with the first location was great, because you found that location, and essentially we built the set. And when I say we, I very loosely include myself in that. It was more Dan and his dad. Like, I did disappoint him. And I put some glitter on a door, actually. But you guys built the set, right?
Yeah. So my dad is so we spent a week. We just built the set in a barn.
Yeah, it was an abandoned barn that hadn't been used for like 10 years.
And that's cool. We essentially, like every day I was helping him just building the blast door and just all the other sort of amenities that I needed to go in. And we had a great production designer, May Davis, who came on board, and she really hit it out of the park with like just the initial layouts and the schematics for that room, and we just hit it off from there, because my dad was just a massive help in that respect, and my whole family were really good. Like they all of them supported me so much during that production, and I just, you know, that they to say your family is the most important thing is an understatement, because if you don't, you're no kind of man if you don't take them with you wherever you go. And I think at the end of the day, they're the ones that, you know, they're the one that support you through and through anything. But like you know, when Dad was helping me, it was just he was then starting to see that, oh, this is actually looking amazing. Like this is like, oh my God. Like, and when we finished the set and everything was dressed, you walk in there and you actually feel like you're underground.
Yeah.
And you think, wow, like this is something. There's definitely a magic here that you could never really understand until you actually are in that process.
Now that sounds good, and I'm going to jump in because I know how passionate you are about the Grey Room, and you can talk about it all day. But unfortunately, we've only got half an hour, so I'm going to jump in because I was trying to move us forward a little bit. Because
can I just ask one question? I was going to say, because you've gone from then Nollywood to make your own thing, you put all that time into the location, etc. How did you find the actual shoot? I just want to, you know, from working for other people to doing your own thing.
Yeah.
How was that? What was you, director or?
Directed, and I actually was.
He was director, first AD. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
No,
I know the one.
I had an amazing cinematographer, Daniel Villeneuve, and I hope he's on to bigger and better things. But he has literally been the kind of the train, the freight train that has arrived at every station for this film. Like, hats off to him. Every time I revisit every shot, it's just, I know exactly what went into this shot in terms of just not the stress, but like the build up to it. Because, you know, there'd be instances where we'd have a flight path that has changed its course straight over.
I remember you talking about this. Yeah.
That was a nightmare.
At the end of the day, I had to put my AD hat on and say to myself, we ain't got time for this. This is not, you know. Yeah. And I ended up saying to Jason Nightle, who's
a sound guy.
Yeah, really good sound guy, to just call action. Because I didn't have any audio monitoring, so I couldn't hear what he was hearing. So I just said, look, you call it, because we're going to be faffing about with this for too long.
Just to add, this was about 1 o'clock in the morning as well, by the way. So it wasn't like midday. So it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. We've been shooting since 10 that morning. So like, it was a hell of a day.
So obviously you fed you.
Like obviously there was food and stuff like that and things. Dan loves the Dominoes, right? You know that.
I heard.
Dan loves Dominoes. All his Dominoes on set all the time. And I'm like, as producer, I'm sitting there going, this is not in the budget, Dan. What the hell? Where's this money coming from, Dan? But yeah,
awesome.
so.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, the process, and the crux of it was, you know, everyone just pulled together. Everyone was. I couldn't have asked for a better cast and crew if I tried, because at the end of it, you know, the rehearsals served it. You know, the conversation. I mean, Dan, everything when it comes down to it is planning. You just need to do it. It's not a. And I know what Billy's going to say is
let's talk about that.
Even though it is my weakness, I still admit it. It's still.
Mate, at least you're owning it, man. Yeah. And you know what to do to rectify it. So.
And this is what you're developing as a filmmaker, right? But let's talk about this planning. So the first 5 days were planned, and we had the location, which was built by yourself and your dad, and it was brilliant and phenomenal. This is where we hit the first bump in the road, shall we say, because we then needed, for the next bit of the shoot, some long corridors, sort of breeze block walls and stuff, and we didn't have that. Okay, so then became the long search for where do we shoot the next thing. Now, if you were going to give a filmmaker any advice about shooting a film, would any of that advice include making sure you have the locations before you start?
Probably. For sure. I mean, like we essentially, I think we spent months, wasn't it, after just looking for like an alternative location for just the corridor scenes, because there needed to be a delivery system for the what happens at the end, and we needed to show that the relationship with these characters has essentially broken down, and the fact that they leave the room separately is a connotation of that. But yeah, like the planning for locations, it was a little bit up in the air with that, because, and yeah, like you said, Baz, I mean, I take everything in terms of like, if I've missed something, if I am not prioritizing something, just address it, get something in place, ask for help, because it's at the end of the day, it's all well and good being someone who can make the film by yourself, be the jack of all trades. You can do that to an extent, but it won't get you to the area where you learn how to collaborate with production design and location scouts and people that have the logistical knowledge to facilitate those kinds of areas and that department. And when it comes down to it, you have to take ownership of how you develop that area and how you delegate those instructions to different departments, and then where you stand with it. So yeah, I mean, it was a very scattered production, but in the end, I couldn't have been more happier with the result. So I'm excited to release it this year, and I hope everyone loves the film. I hope. Please give us some feedback. Anything that you think, or anything that you might have learned from it, or what you might have taken from it. I'm open to all.
It's all good. It's all good. So when are you looking to release it?
Well, before we get into that, let's just talk about the process. Let's talk about the process a little bit first. So we, with regards to location stuff, we eventually did find a location, which is good. Yeah. We had one lined up, and then the building got sold, which is brilliant. we had it all lined up. Yeah. Dan's dad was getting ready to build us all loads of stuff, and then we contacted the guy, and he was like, "Oh yeah, sorry, no, we sold that." It was like, okay, fine. But we ended up, we were lucky. We went on, did a radio interview, didn't we? And we found a location at Romford. So big shout out to Spencer Hawkins at Romford. Shopping centre for accommodating us shooting there, and we shot there, and then we come to the bit that you mentioned earlier on where you were determined to get this other location, this third location. Now this is the one I advised against, but you were determined to get it, and you wanted to make sure that we did get it. And just talk to us about the price of that location per hour.
Yeah, so that was. So it came to roughly £168 an hour.
£168 an hour for a short film. just yeah. And we needed a full day shooting there.
Paid someone.
Right.
Yeah. No, but like when you go to this place, everything's already dressed to that time period. Everything's already facilitated. It's essentially the only thing is the equipment to bring in, and then you're done.
That would have been £200 an hour.
It's kind of, I took it as, am I going to, for production design, is it worth spending more on production design, or just finding a place that is? And the place that we found, Kelvin and Hatch, you walk in there and you actually feel like you've gone back in time, because it is just purposely built for what I wrote for. And it's not oftentimes you write something and then you discover a place that looks exactly how you thought of it in your mind, and it's like, well, I have to. It's there. Everything that you envisioned.
That makes sense.
And it's the opportunity is there for you to acquire it, and you have the ability to. Reckless as it was for me to just sort of, put a lot of the budget into it, it just serves itself at the end, with narratively, figuratively. At the end of the day, that I'll take that accountability any day, for that decision, and I think it was the right one, because that location itself served as a character in itself.
That's
and
cool.
I thought, if that's gonna deliver this ending the way it needs to be delivered, that's the way it's got to. I had to. It was just the gut feeling I had was, it was, yeah. I actually remember the day when I was sort of deciding it, and then I called Billy, and then we just sort of like, okay, all right, let's go for it.
It was one of them where when a director's got such conviction, what can you do? You have to.
An hour, mate.
You got to find it.
How many hours were you there?
6-7 hours.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. So yeah, if you do the math, you know. But yeah, I did it.
And just so you know, and here's the other thing as well, right? If you go over your allotted time, it then goes up to about 250.
Oh, shut up, man. So you done you a favour, didn't you? Like,
yeah, I mean, yeah, no, but I thoroughly enjoyed shooting there, because it was just everything there was like, yes, some of the lighting setups had to be, more intricate, but when we got going and our momentum was there, we were just non-stop, just powerhouse all day, and we actually made the time where we needed to get that last shot, and when we said wrap, that was it. We were like really, I just couldn't have been happier really with what we got.
Awesome.
And yeah, I'm just excited to sort of get it out there. And
I'm excited to see it. I'm really looking forward to it.
I mean, I'm lucky enough. I've seen the assembly cut and stuff like that. I mean, I think I've nearly seen the final edit. Yeah. So I'm excited for people to see it now as well, and I hope it's been worth the wait for everyone. That's the thing. If you would tell us something, one thing that you learned, or the thing you learned the most about creating the Grey Room, what would it be?
Budget? No,
I don't think you did.
Of course, yeah. Well, I think at the end of the day, the one thing I learned the most was, I think mostly just collaboration methods. Like, when I really try and unpack, how I conducted certain things and how I addressed, certain areas of it. That was a film school for me. That really was, in terms of process, in terms of timelines and deadlines, and in terms of just everything. Like, it was just collaboration that really opened my eyes. You're never going to get, if you could have a really good story idea. You can sit down, you can write the script, you can get the final draft, you can get all the feedback you need to get. But at the end of the day, it's like you will have to collaborate on every level to achieve even just 85% of how you look at it in your mind every night when you go to bed. Because if you really know the story, you could watch it before you go to sleep. You can just watch it in your head as a film. And if you know how intricate you need to make the planning, it's never going to get to the place you want it to be unless you learn how to really diversify your delegations and then actually get that development in there. Trust in people, trust in their knowledge, trust in their abilities, and then ultimately you'll leave with both a network of people and a family that you actually never thought you could have, in terms of just what you've been through together, and that's how I felt with Grey Room. I think it was such everything was so put together like nicely with that, especially towards the end where things were starting to get scattered, but everyone pulled through, and it was just. And it actually will forever be something that I will take with me as an experience, as a kind of practitioner in this medium, because this industry is about creating families that involve collaboration, getting everything that you can from in here to in everyone else's heads, because unless you open yourself up to accountability and understanding that you are transparent in the fact that, yes, I made this mistake, I made that mistake, I made this. Okay, how do we fix it? There's no, you don't have the luxury of time in this industry to dwell on where you went wrong. Where did you go wrong? Find it. Because you have every opportunity on every project you are undertaking to unpack everything you possibly can about where you're lacking, what is it that you're going to, develop for the next one. Because if you want to be an efficient practitioner in this medium, it's all about like looking inwards.
You don't fail, you learn, right?
Yeah,
you don't fail, you learn. Every job you work on,
yeah.
it's a new learning experience. So Dan, the next project we work together on is Ashland, which obviously you directed. I trusted you with it. I wrote it. I trusted you with it. Talk to me about that. How it was different from the Grey Room, what you learned, and what you took out of that experience.
Well, it was essentially like it was such a different dynamic for me because it is something that. When you do we want to
ignore that?
That's just the rollerblind outside next door. It's all right. Carry on.
Imagine a soundman.
Essentially, like it was such a different dynamic for me because it was something that this was Billy's film, and I'm taking it on board as a kind of how can we articulate these characters as a means of like building something from like an underdog environment and bringing those characters to life with that particular type of dynamic, and I pretty much went into sort of preparation with it as much as I could. I went into kind of an area of this is going to be something that is more going to be, because in my feeling towards reading the script was like it's a very kind of series based kind of motif to it. There's a potential for these characters to actually have a continuation of different cases, different vibes, but it's all like for me it was just such an eye-opening experience just having that different kind of collaboration, to be able to have that progression of building a story, building the narrative, and building these characters, and just having the means to sort of work with everyone. I mean, being able to work with John and Ben, like, and everyone else on who was contributing. We just had a really great sort of level-headed, mindset on where we want to go with it. The first day, we got everything we needed to get, which was just so like refreshing to have, because you arrive at a set and you think, right, we've got this shot list, but we have this time to get this done. But what sets it aside is the cast, and I just think that the cast, when you have a cast that is so on point with how they want to drive their characters and how they want to actually, not even just that, but be, when you have a cast who are like filmmakers, who are actually aware of the perceptions of like the certain justifications of things, and if they feel uncomfortable to do something, but they also realise there's a reason for that. It's so refreshing to have that professionalism involved, because it means, as a director, I can just focus on the body language side of things and just like hone in those last little things before we are ready for the takes, and even when we had the takes, Pat Garrett, for instance, she was just so on point with her deliveries.
Brilliant actress.
Like I barely had to give any direction because it was just so like you do you, Pat.
I don't even know why I paid him that day. On that, exactly right. Was it different for you going into a project where you didn't have to worry about things like, it wasn't your job to find a location, you didn't have to worry about the food on the day for the cast and stuff? Because obviously when we did the Grey Room, you took on board everything. Whereas with this one, you could just direct. How was that different?
It was just absolute breath of fresh air. Words can't describe. I literally the ability to just focus on what I'm there to do, just solely what I'm there to do. That for me was just, I can now, okay, let's build characters, let's build on-screen relationships, let's build this story, and that's where my area was. I was fitting right into it, just as I am in this chair. I'm like, okay, I ain't going anywhere else.
And there was a couple of times in early in the pre-production where you did worry about other stuff. Well, what we're going to do about this, what we're going to do about that, and I sort of had to say to you, Dan, you don't need to worry about that stuff because there's other people that will do that for you. It's their job. Yeah.
It's from trauma. But yeah, no, I just the weight off my shoulders on things. You bring with you different experiences from different productions based upon what you have to deal with. If low budget means you have to wear different hats and bring something through to the end that you didn't anticipate you'd have to do yourself, is having that weight lifted and you being able to have the ability to just focus on what you do best, and you can just because for me, I just want to learn about my actors and have been able to just to speak to them and have a bit of a frank conversation about, look, how do you perceive this character? What do you want to explore with it? Because I obviously have my visions, but it's not going to be any good unless we arrive at a place that we both can work towards. And before you get to a set, it's kind of, well, where does this line stop in terms of, if you have to behave differently for different actors because they work in a different way, then that's my next practice, and that's what I want to sort of go into in terms of, working with Pat. I could just be very, very calm and just, because we had a phone call previously, and already we were just so on point with and in agreement with each other on how her character was going to play out. And it was, when we got on set, like I said, I barely had to give her any direction because she just took the reins. She took the reins in the way that I had envisioned it, and I think audiences would envision it as well. And having that sort of freedom to just relax and just start corralling the actors into where they need to go, and just arrive at a place that they're comfortable to perform, and I'm comfortable to mediate. And
you noticed that he said that Pat was a really good actress. Didn't mention me once, and that not once.
I forgot you were in it.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Billy was in it.
Baz, just a quick question for you, because you did the unit stills on the project as well.
Yeah.
So that kind of allowed you to kind of be a bit more outside looking in, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You see, I was tied to a chair, so it was a bit more difficult for me. What did you notice about the process and about sort of Dan as a director on set?
I just thought it. And I've worked on a few films, including our own, which me and Ben will both say was, like you said, we took on too much. We thought we could do a lot on our own. So just to see, for me, it was like a next level. So obviously being involved with the EFC over the last 18 months, been involved with a couple of short film projects, but just this was another level. Like you said, everyone had their own individual roles that they could concentrate, which made the project, and quite an ambitious project as well, I think. to get done in what was it, 3 days?
3 days.
3 days.
Yeah, so
Very time sensitive.
yeah, and we finished early Sunday.
We did, yeah, we did.
Not
yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to wrap up now. Obviously, we're running out of time a little bit. But Dan, we've got 2 more projects that you've got lined up. So just tell us a little bit about the 2 that you've got lined up. One as first AD and one as director.
Yeah. So the next one is A Wrong Turn Down Memory Lane, which I'll be an assistant director to the writer John Maybe.
Big up, John.
Yeah, we love John. Love John.
He's
Aqua Warehouse. Big up.
I'm going to be there to sort of also try and help him, with because I think he's got to direct. He's directed the stage, so he needs to direct this one because it is at the end of the day, it's his story, and I really want him to come out as a director and I think he will do it really well, and I want to support him in that. And then,
for you, is it about, as that first AD, is it about helping him just make it become more cinematic rather than stage show? Would you say? It
depends. I think John. I think is more. I think John wants to sort of focus on the characters and the performances, and I think if he can do that, then I can help him in terms of just how can you translate narratively to a composition, and how can you turn that into a narrative cinematic language that can actually help him to say, oh no, we can do this. I mean, there are elements that, I will sort of stop my sort of input, and then he carries on. It's kind of, there's certain areas that, and I think that will give him the area that he can then start to rein in and corral his actors into where they need to be for his story. And I think it will serve it well. And I take on wherever I can to help him achieve that. Because initially I was going to DP, but I at the end of the day, Ben is so on point with what he's doing. He's got the experience, he's got the knowledge, and he's got the infrastructure and the partners to see it through. And at the end of the day, it's business partners. Business partners.
I think it'll be supported in a better way. I think.
So I made the decision that it's a better investment for him to have Ben, in terms of, because what he brings to the table in cinematography, he brought it in Ashland, and I think it's the most sensible choice. I think.
And then you've agreed to direct Easter Bunnies without even reading the script at this point, So it's a charity film. So the idea is that we're going to do a film for, and it'll either be for a food bank or for a homeless shelter. And you've agreed to direct it for us just on the concept without seeing the script.
Yeah. You sold me at Easter Bunnies.
Well, we'll hear a bit more about that project in the future, I'm sure. On our next episode, we're going to have Jack Leonard, who's one of the stars of A Wrong Turn Down Memory Lane.
Oh, that worked out well, didn't it?
It did. It worked out pretty well for us. So he'll tell us a little bit more about the project, the role that he's playing, and we'll hear about. And I'm sure we'll get John on at some point as well. We have to get John on at some point. Don't we? Yeah.
I want to talk about Pop-Tarts. So
absolutely, yeah.
Thompson
Dan,
twins.
Thank you for joining us today.
Absolute pleasure.
Dan.
Thanks for having me.
One love.
Big up, man. All right. That's us at Hellfire. You guys take care.
See you later.
Bye-bye.